Lynette Bonaparte is the owner of Lynette's Sewing Center located at New Road Housing, St. Peters. Let's have a chat with her to find out about the overdue making of uniforms and more. Good morning, Lynette. It's our pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning SKN.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed. So are you still making uniform in the
yes,
second week?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
busy,
wow.
busy.
Busy as a bee?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Did you manage to get the cloth for the factory school uniforms as yet?
No.
Oh, man.
All right, so you're making uniforms now. Is this typical, or is this because of the supply chain issues?
Yes, normally at this time, we still would be making uniforms for Fitzroy Bryant in particular, because children, parents would not really get uniform for those children until they get their results to know if it's wise, So normally we'll be in Fitzroy Bryant, but on this term, we are still doing some other private schools uniform.
Okay, because of the supply chain issues.
To a little extent. Yeah. I normally get my uniform material real early in the year because I've recognized by April there's a problem. So I invest early. So I really don't have that problem apart from the factory school. Because I really do not, I have one, but it's not the exact, but I was able to use it.
So you're one of the smart ones.
Well, I understand the business and I'm there a while now. So so by April, my stuff is in the island in terms of material.
Brilliant.
So you said you've been in business for a while. How many years does that?
34 years.
That's more than a while. That's a long while.
Yes, when I was young, I started.
Okay. So you did needlework in school and decided this is a profession you want to take on?
Even before that, when I was about 8, I knew I wanted to be a dressmaker.
Nice.
So when I finished with school, I worked for 5 years and then I decided this was it. So I started in 1988 on my own.
Never looked
Okay. Whenever anybody says to me they figured out what they wanted to do when they were a child, especially in your field, you said that you wanted to be a dressmaker. Obvious question would be, when did you make your first dress?
I would tell you, I used to make clothes and wear to school. Last time we went to girls' school without uniform. So I would make a lot of flare skirts. I just imagine a flare came from a circle. So I got a circle because I was very good in math. So I got a big barrel cover and I cut a circle and I got like a butter cover, like a smaller bucket, put it in the center and cut that hole and it was a flare. One day you kind of wind around and you just spin. So that was me.
How old were you then?
I was like 8 and 9 when I started, and I never liked short clothes, not sleeveless, so I would put all little frills on my clothes.
Okay. That's a great story, by the way. You've been doing it for 34 years after
Yes.
adulthood. That's incredible.
I want to know, how early in the year do you start making the uniforms?
We start from right now. My workers, I have workers, and that's all they work on uniforms. So we just continue. It's a continuation. I make private people's clothes, so we are busy making uniforms. So from the time we finish, we go a little slow, and then we go on a vacation in November, and in December, we get into some, like Christmas seasonal stuff, and then back to the uniform when the new year starts.
Okay, so uniforms are year-round. So with materials not being readily available this year, how did the parents of the students handle this?
As I said earlier, it wasn't a problem with me. It's only the factory school. Right, so I have all my material, every one of them, because I brought in the material by April, had everything I needed, except for my shirts and so on, which I would have ordered real early in the year, but because of that come from China, shirt and pants, I did not get them until the 1st of September, because the ship seemed to be waiting until they're really full to come out to like St. Kitts. So even though it reached as far as Miami, it was in Miami for a couple of weeks. So that is the only real problem I can say I really had this year.
All right, question for you, because I imagine I already know the answer, but I want to ask it anyway. Since you were so organized as a seamstress, having your materials for uniforms, etc., it's the case where people have to come to you, get their measurements, and then you make the uniforms. It's not a case where you have already made clothing that's there and somebody can say, well, you know what, I want this white shirt in this size. Can I come to you and buy it?
Yes, you can come right now if you want a uniform to go to Washington High. We might just be able to sum up the sizes.
So you do have the sizes, uniform. So you actually have them readily available?
Yes, that's what my workers are doing all year. We're not waiting until people come for a measurement. apart from Fitzroy Bryan, we do not make them until they come because those children at this age, they are a lot of trouble. So we wait until they come. So that's why we are rushing now.
So it's effectively like a boutique, which I didn't get before. I'm glad that you said that because normally when I think of seamstresses and so on, I think, well, you definitely have to go in with your measurements. And then you get something made. To have you say that you have them readily available. If you're there trying to avoid the uniform rush, you know where to go to get it. It's already there.
It's because you have charts, you have measurement charts you can use and fit, you know. So only when we have a child which might be really oversized for a primary school, we have to make them. So that's where the rush is in the summer because there are those, some kids who are really, really big and there's some who are really, really small. So you have to do those. So those are the in-between what keeps us really, really busy. And then because we provide for social services, we don't know who's going to come. So sometimes we have to make more because sometimes one size, even though we make a lot, for every size. Sometimes one size over is much more. So we have to double up. So if you say we're making 4 dozen of each, we might have a size there, we need 6 dozen. So then we have to go and rush on those within the time. And it's not that they send out the orders, the list early. You get them sometime late. Because we got a list Friday before, not last Friday, Friday before. And school is going to be opening on Wednesday. And some of those children just, you know.
Exactly. So, but I have to say that makes you a really savvy businesswoman as well, because you're not affected by the supply chain nearly as much as some other people, and you're still providing uniforms that people can get even at the last minute. If they come up, they might get their sizes. Minor adjustments if needed, but that's great.
Yes.
I can see why you've been in business for 34 years.
Well, I like what I do, so I guess it's not as difficult. I enjoy what I do. I wake up in the morning and I give God thanks that I'm alive, and I look forward to going to my business, and I feel good. So I don't feel a big pressure on me to say, Lord, today again, I'm excited about going to work.
You're working for yourself. It also helps that you don't have the commute to work, doesn't it?
Yes.
Home-based, a few steps away.
Yeah, I'm going to just show you a little PE skirt, right? This PE skirt is a skirt that you overlap with 2 buttons. So I'm going to just put in some pleats in it fast so you will understand what I'm talking about. But first of all, before we start putting the pleats, we normally measure out the size. We're going to make these pleats 1 inch in size. We're going to start 5 inches from the end of the material. We're going to start to measure. So I'm going to measure it off 5 inches, and then I will start to put in those pleats. So then we can just measure off like some 1 inch, right? Because we're going to make the pleat in 1 inch in size. So I have to measure off 1 inch short the cloth, right? So I'm going to go just 1 inch all the way till I get to the end where I want to reach. Then we start putting in the pleats, right? So I'm going to go towards the end. So we're going to take up number 1, 2, 3, because it's at 1 inch pleat. Each pleat taking up 3 inches in all, or really 2. So we have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take up the third, and carry it back to the first mark, which is there, right? And you put a pin to hold it. We're going to count this end where we just finished it. 1, 2, 3. So I take up the third one and I carry it next to 1, right? I'm not going to overlap them. I just carry it right next to it. So it's not resting on each one, but it's just sitting right next to where the first one just left off, right? So you're just sitting right next to it, but you're not overlapping anything. So now I count again, 1, 2, 3, and I take up the third one and I carry it to the first one, right next to it again. And this is what you do right until you reach to the end or the size that you need. Because you might not have to carry to the end if it's a tiny, tiny person. So you have the waist in mind, know what you're doing. So you'll have this piece, which is overlapping. Normally, let me just pull back the other side of the skirt. Just assuming that the pleat is completed, you'll have this pleat that is overlapping on top. And you have the 2 buttons there. So those are the pleats like that, right? So that's just a little explanation how we go about putting in pleats. Pleats is basically something that we do all the time because most of our uniforms in St. Kitts have been pleats. So I will show you a finished product that you can understand exactly what I just said, right? That's the skirt here. So I'm going to close it now, that you can understand. I don't have. So this is what I'm talking about when we overlap it here. This is actually a Keon primary school. So you see this strip here.
My name is Sabrina Walters Arthur, and I'm here doing buttonholes for CFBC. So the first thing we do, we measure the distance between the buttonholes them, which is about 3 1/4 each buttonhole. I'll make a buttonhole and show you. You have to make sure the buttonhole foot is lined up properly so that you could get the buttonholes accurate. Okay. Remove the pin. There you go. 4 accurate buttonholes.
So that was quite a spectacular video of the work that you do.
Thank you very much.
And I during the break, I asked her how many pricks she normally get, and she says none. So as I told her, I might have been bleeding because she put in those pins so accurately.
34 years, Cortensia. 34 years is a long
Exactly,
time. You learn
exactly.
what to do.
But you
in that
never
time.
know, you might still get a prick here and there. Everywhere, prick. Yeah.
My workers get the pricked.
You
You see? No, Miss
yeah.
Bonaparte, she doesn't get the prick.
Your
Yeah.
workers get pricks.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's something that you can teach them how not to get in your sewing classes, which I understand that you offer as well.
Yes.
Lynette Sewing Center also is home to sewing classes. So why don't you tell us about these?
Yes, back in 1990, I did 10 years at the Venezuela Institute teaching sewing. So anyone could have registered and come to the classes. It was mainly teachers who took the opportunity to get into those classes. The class was really set up for mothers who was not well off, uneducated women. That's what the government was supposed to be doing, the Venezuelan government, but they did not turn up. So we had a lot of teachers in that class, and it ran from 1990 to 2000, and then it ended. So because of that, people still wanted to be in class. So we did run a couple classes. Now at this stage, we run just one class. Because we don't have I'm not as young, so I still offer myself just one day a week, from 5 to 7. That's all right. And unlike when they were at the Events Institute, they came free. They have to pay me, right? And that's the difference. When they would have paid me, you came to the class.
Got you. So how many students do you accommodate?
6.
6. Okay.
Yeah, just 6, because I want them to learn within the 2 hours. I don't want to have a big class and then they just can't, get enough.
And
So
how
I
long
have
does this
6.
go on for?
Once a week, 2 hours.
Once a week, 2 hours. Is there a
Yes.
cutoff? Like how many months does it run for?
For 3 months a
3
term,
months. Okay.
yes.
Good term. Okay, great.
Well, 3 months, 6 months actually, but 3 months we do the skirt, and then we have the last one, which we get into dresses, blouses, and any other little household thing. So it's really a 6 month period.
Okay, great.
So Ms. Bonaparte, if folks wanted, for those of us that don't know where you are and we wanted to get in contact with you, can you look into that camera and give us your contact information?
Okay, my name is Lynette Bonaparte, but my business name is Lynette Sewing Center. It's at New Road Housing. It's not difficult to find. You can actually go on social media and find the exact location by Googling it, but you just come up the road with the children's park and you will find Lynette Sewing Center. It's not a hard place to find, and we are there we open at 10 and close at 5. So we are available to anyone who want to come in, and we are well organized, and we behave ourselves well as well.